Okay, so let's say I'm that same businessman. It's been 2 years, and you know what? I want to sit down with an SEO specialist because I've been doing it myself, and I've had some moderate success, but I want to take it to the next level. I sit down with you. You've coached me on what to do in the past, but I say, you know what? I want you to take over now. After that consultation, what are the first things that you do? What does your workflow look like after that meeting to say, all right, here's what we're going to do to get this SEO, this website taking off?
Great question. Our first step is research. So we do a ton of research on what the competition looks like. What are the keywords that would make sense for you to rank for? We typically start with about 50 different keywords that we are going to get you to the number one position for. And then we send those to you first and say, hey, this is what we've discovered. And so those keywords are based on a number of data points. We look at the competition, we look at the search volume, we look at the locations and the user intent. So there's a lot of things that we look at when we decide what that list of 50 keywords are going to be that we start with. And then we send them off to you to say, hey, do these look like things that you want to be ranked for? And once we get the okay, we immediately start tracking those. So we have softwares that we use to track where you're ranking for those. And we make sure that your website is set up with a lot of different tracking points because we also want to track conversions in the traffic too. So it's not just where you're ranking on Google for these keywords, but how much traffic is that bringing you? And is that traffic converting into sales for you? So that's the first thing we do is figure out what are the things we're going to target. And then we set up all the tracking for that. And then beyond that, usually by about day 2, we're starting our process. So we're starting to optimize your website for those keywords so that your website talks to Google correctly. And then we're also at that point doing our off-page strategy is what we call it, when we are getting those backlinks, getting other websites to link to yours to build a lot of trust. So we've got a lot of tools in our tool belt to do that. But essentially that's our process in a nutshell is figure out what we want to rank you for and then get that implemented on your website. And then we start pointing trust to your website. And that does include content too. We publish a lot of optimized blog content on a regular basis on our client sites too. So we're doing all the things so that all you have to worry about is getting that report once a month that shows where you're ranking, how much traffic is coming in, and is that traffic converting so that you can track and make sure that you're getting a return on that investment you made with us.
Right. So I want to talk about the keywords because that one's kind of interesting to me. How do you find out the keywords that are actually valuable? You talked about, you can go to Google search and you type in a restaurant and it's going to give you some suggestions. Is that the extent of your research? But are there tools out there? Are they generally accessible? Like, come on, what do I got to do your job?
All right, I'll give you some secrets. So I do recommend if you're feeling a little overwhelmed with the whole process to just go with those basic keywords that you're seeing on Google when you type in your products and services and you see those suggested things. Just go with those just for the sake of getting started and taking action. So don't let me overwhelm you here. But if you are ready for that next step, like Cole is, then there's actually a tool I recommend that's really cheap. It's about $20 a year, if I'm remembering right, called Keywords Everywhere. So this is a Chrome extension you can download on a Chrome browser. And this shows you a ton of data points for lots of different keywords. So it shows you and there's a bunch of tools. We use probably like 10 to 20 different SEO tools. So we have different keyword research tools that we use as well. And some of them are a lot more expensive than $20 a year. But that is the cheapest one that gives you really good results. So Keywords Everywhere actually changes the way your Google search looks. And it gives you insights into what the competition looks like. So you can see when you type in a keyword, what are the websites that are ranking for this right now? And what is their authority with Google? How many backlinks do they have? You get to see all these data points. And then on the right side of your screen, you'll see all these related keywords. So you'll see like long tail keyword suggestions, which is what we call long tail keyword, just means a long search term. So what are the best yoga pants to wear when jogging would be a long tail keyword versus yoga pants would be a short keyword, right? And so those long tail ones are typically easier to rank for. There's not as much competition. So getting an idea of what those look like. And then you'll see a bunch of other metrics like competition levels and things like that. And so anyway, it's a very fancy tool as far as if you're not used to looking at SEO tools, you might be like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of data points. But it's a really cheap tool and it's a really accurate one. And it's a great way to get an idea of what other keywords might be out there, as well as what the competition might look like for some of those keywords that you're targeting.
All right. And the websites, because you're also tracking leads, what actually generates into something of monetary value. How do you track that? Are you just on my WordPress.com website and just tracking all the movements?
Great question. We use a lot of tools for that too. So it also depends on the business, because if we have like a local contractor business, when a lead converts, they usually will click the button on the page to make a phone call, which we can track that. And so we use a lot of different softwares to track where's the traffic coming in from and what are they clicking on? Are they filling out your lead form? Are they clicking order now? Are they clicking the phone call button to call you? So if somebody calls you, if you're a local contractor and let's say they need a bathroom remodel and they found you through Google, and so they go to your website and they click the button to call and they pick up and call, that contractor is going to convert you on the phone most likely. So it's hard for us to track that conversion because that's happening on the phone. So that just comes down to a conversation that we have to say, hey, we saw that we sent you this many leads or you got this many phone calls. Of those, how many did you convert? And it just helps us track to make sure that you actually are getting a profit on your campaign. So that's for contractors, for people that need to pick up the phone and call. But for somebody like an e-commerce business, it's a lot easier to track because all of the ordering is done online. So we can see all of it. So we can see when someone comes to your page, when they click order, we can see how much they ordered, what products they bought for how many, we can see everything. We can see what time they came on the page, what area they're from. A lot of times we can see metrics like what age and gender they are. So we can get real specific on those data points. But overall, what we're mostly looking for is where did that traffic come in from? Like, is it coming from these Google searches? Is this an effective method of marketing for you? And are they converting? Are they actually buying from you?
So perhaps you could tell me if this is similar. So a little while ago, I got into Facebook marketing, and being the one-man show that I am, I had to figure out, first of all, how to build a proper website. And that was a fun learning curve. And then I had to learn how to install things like Google Pixels to track actions on the websites. And it's software code that's developed by different companies. You install into your WordPress website, and then you pray that it works most of the time. Is it kind of similar to that thing where you're installing code onto websites and that's how you're pulling that data often?
Yep, 100%. And we do use a lot of free Google tools. So Google Analytics and Google Search Console are the two tools that are free that use the Google Pixel. And I 100% recommend that you have both of those on your website, no matter what kind of marketing you're doing, because it just gives you that insight into what's happening, what's going on. And then you can set up like custom tracking through that as well. So I won't get into all the tech for that. We actually have a web developer in our team that does most of that for us. So a lot of times it's just us saying, all right, time to set up this site. And then our developer goes in and does it. So that is honestly what I recommend, because for people that aren't tech savvy to try to do all that custom coding like you're talking about, it can be a headache. It can be a bit of a rabbit hole, and it can be more of a time suck than people would like it to be. So yeah, I recommend just having people help you with that if you're not super tech savvy.
Yeah, I think at the worst of it, I'd spent 2 days and I was learning HTML coding, and I realized this isn't my job. I do other
You've got
things.
a business to run. Yeah.
This is not how I make my money. Anyways, so coding, I understand why it drives some people crazy.
Yeah.
So